Good morning, sir.
So, in today's class, we will discuss about the microbiology of the indigenous milk product. And in today's class, we will mainly focus on the different type of heat and acid coagulated products. As all of you know, that the term indigenous milk products refers to the dairy products of a particular region or country. And these are the products of Indian origin. And in continuation of our last class, today we will discuss about different type of heat and acid coagulated products. We have already discussed about different groups of traditional Indian dairy products, and they are classified into these six categories: heat desiccated products, heat and acid coagulated products, then fermented products, products made with addition of cereals, clarified butter fat, frozen products. So in the last class, we have discussed a lot about different kind of heat desiccated products, Oa, Pera, etc. So in today's lecture, we will cover about the microbiological significance of different stages of manufacturing during chana manufacturing, paneer manufacturing, kalakand, as well as rasgulla. So first of all, it is important to know that what is chana. So chana are curds or cheese curds originating from the Indian subcontinent, and it is mainly made from buffalo and regular cow milk by adding food acids such as lemon juice instead of rennet, and thereafter you have to strain it. It is very similar to the analogous of cottage cheese. So it resembles cottage cheeses, which is a Western type product. Now the next, which is very popular in our country, and you can say it is very popular in Indian subcontinent. So paneer is a fresh cheese, and it is an unaged, non-melting soft cheese made by curdling of milk with a fruit or vegetable derived acid, such as lemon juices. Its acid set form before pressing is called chana. So whatever chana is produced, if you are giving an additional treatment, that is pressing, it will be converted into paneer. Now the third product is kalakan. It is an Indian sweet made out of solidified sweetened milk and paneer. And it is also popular in our neighbor Pakistan. And the fourth, which is most important product, that is called rasgulla. Rasgulla is an Indian syrupy dessert popular in Indian subcontinent and regions with South Asian diaspora. It is made from ball-shaped dumplings of chana and semolina dough cooked in light syrup made of sugar. And this is done until the syrup permeates the dumplings. So if you talk about these indigenous milk products, they are produced or they are the previously they are the monopolies of halwais, or you can say smart sweet makers. And it is available in rural areas. But nowadays, different companies or different well-established organizations have started standardizing the manufacturing process of these products, and automatically they have started thinking to maintain the hygienic condition during the manufacturing operation. Actually, they have to send it to the market. So automatically, if they are not maintain a good condition, the shelf life of final product will be minimum, and that will not be acceptable by the different consumers. So first of all, it is important to know about the compositional difference between all these products. Paneer, chana, rasgulla, sandesh. So all these products can be prepared by using buffalo milk or cow milk, and automatically the compositional variation is different when you are using uh, buffalo milk and for producing a particular product, and when you are using cow milk for producing the same product. Here is the compositional variation you can see in this table. Now, the first major indigenous milk product, that is paneer. It is obtained by acid and heat coagulation of milk. Good quality paneer is characterized by white color, sweet is mildly acidic and nutty flavor, a spongy body, and a close-knit structure. So these are the characteristics of paneer. And it is highly nutritious since it retains about 90% of fat and protein present in your milk. Thereafter, 50% of minerals and 10% lactose present in your original milk. And it provides one of the methods of conserving, preserving, and prolonging shelf life of milk solids in highly concentrated form. So these are the typical characteristic of paneer, and it is mainly produced in South Asian countries, and it is a soft variety of, you can say it, a soft variety of cheese obtained by acid and heat coagulation of milk. It is non-fermentative, non-regenerated, non-melting, and unripened type of cheese. So it, you have already studied that it is very popular throughout South Asia and used in raw form on in preparation of several varieties of culinary dishes and snacks. The production of paneer is now spreading throughout the world. So you can well imagine the popularity of this particular product. A number of different kind of culinary dishes are produced by utilizing raw paneer, and it is also a very rich source of animal protein available at a comparatively lower cost and forms an important source of animal protein for vegetarian people. Over and above its high protein content and digestibility, the biological value of protein in paneer is in the range of 80 to 86. And this information was given by Srinivasa and Goel in the year 2007. And in addition to this, paneer is a valuable source of fat, vitamins, minerals like calcium and phosphorus, and it has a reasonable longer shelf life if you are keeping this particular product under refrigeration condition. So these are the, this is in this slide, I have tried to give you the flow diagram of manufacturing of paneer. So good quality of buffalo milk. Thereafter, you have to go for filtration process. Then you have to standardize the whole lot. Heating will be given to the raw milk. That is generally the temperature type generally used is 82 degrees centigrade for 5 minutes. Thereafter, you have to cool it at 70 degrees centigrade. Then addition of coagulant, 1% citric acid solution at 70 degrees centigrade. But nowadays, people have started using uh, some other coagulant for manufacturing of paneer. Calcium lactate people have started using in combination of citric acid. A number of different kind of enzymes or a combination of different kind of enzymes extracted from different kind of fruit as well as vegetable sources. People have started to combine it and uh, started using for manufacturing of paneer in well-organized sector. Now continuous stirring till clear whey separates out. Thereafter settling for 10 minutes, drainage of whey. Thereafter you have to go for pressing the coagulum after filling the muslin cloth lined hoops. Then removal of blocks and cutting into desired shape. Whatever demand you are getting from different areas or from your market, accordingly you have to cut it in different pieces, different small pieces. Thereafter, immersion of paneer blocks in chilled water at 4 degrees centigrade, drainage of water and wiping surfaces of paneer, and thereafter you have to pack it in different packaging material and stored below 4 degrees centigrade. So these are the different instruments people are using for manufacturing of paneer. You must have studied about all these machines in your techno courses. So nowadays VAT is used, double jacketed VAT, and sometimes people are circulating hot water or steam inside that double jacketed machine. Then fresh pressing machine is here. Then cutting and seaming machine is there. So automatically by using these machines, you can uh, prepare different kind of paneer. And here in this slide, quantitative microbial risk assessment for consumption of paneer is given in this table. So the same which we have uh, studied in our uh, seen in our last slide. Here in this table, what are the vulnerable points where different kind of microbial contaminants gain entry into the system? The first of all, the first most important thing is the raw milk. Here, what is happening? Uh, the first critical control point is raw milk. Whatever raw milk we are collecting or we are procuring from different sources, first of all, we have to chill it below 4 degrees centigrade, and there should not be any sort of contamination at that time. And a very controlled condition is required during that. Thereafter, uh, before inoculation of uh, different kind of coagulant, we have to chill it, and whatever coagulant we are using or for water we are using for mixing that coagulant, that should be of good quality. And our main focus is to minimize the total contamination load, which will affect the overall quality of your product. And thereafter, at the time of settling, uh, you have to drain whatever waste produced during the manufacturing process. At that time, coagulum and paneer block preparation will be done. So whatever cloths we are using or whatever hooper or other instruments you are using for pressing purposes, that should be completely sterilized and properly cleaned, and a very strict hygienic condition already recommended by different organizations or different legal bodies we have to maintain, and then only we can produce a paneer having good quality, and automatically you will get a longer shelf life of that kind of final product. So now something about the microbiological quality of paneer. What is special in it? The microbiological quality of paneer, like other indigenous milk products, chiefly depends upon the condition of manufacture, subsequent handling, storage, and sale of the product. I have repeatedly told you people that different stages of manufacturing operation, that is very important. How we are maintaining a very good uh, environment, or what type of machinery we are using, or what is the health condition of different dairy personnel. These all are very important, and at what temperature we are storing our final product, what type of packaging material we are using, or what treatment or whatever recommended time temperature combination is uh, suitable for manufacturing operation. If we are maintaining that level, automatically we can minimize the total bacterial load. And a number of different kind of reports are available. Uh, if you go through those reports, automatically you will see a number of different kind of microflora which are present in your final product. So if you maintain a very hygienic condition throughout your manufacturing operation, and if you give a proper heat treatment, automatically you can minimize the total bacterial level of your final product. Sometimes people have observed different kind of staphylococcus aureus strains in final product of paneer. It gives you idea about the unhygienic condition maintained during the manufacturing process. If you talk about the microbiological quality of chana, Chana samples, people have collected different samples of Chana, and it was showed that an average bacterial count of 1.6 to 10 to the power 4 per gram was there in different samples of chana. However, during a storage at 37 degrees centigrade, the count increases to 31 into 10 to the power 6 to 110 into 10 to the power 6 at the end of 24 and 48 hours of storage. And the spoilage of the product was chiefly due to the thermoduric microorganisms. Because here we are using what temperature we are using during the manufacturing operation. Sometimes we are using about 82 or 85 degrees centigrade. The maximum temperature people are using, that is about 90 degrees centigrade. Automatically there may be chances of survival of some kind of thermoduric microorganisms as well as some kind of spore forming microorganisms. And whenever they will get a suitable environment or condition surround of storage, automatically they will start growing in the system and they will start creating abnormal spoilage problem to the product. The most commonly occurring mold in Chena belongs to the genera Penicillium, Aspergillus, Mucor, Rhizopus, and Fusarium. So you have to remember the name of all these microorganisms whenever you are talking about these paneer as well as chana. So something about the defects generally found in paneer and chana. So you all have idea that it is a very uh, high fat and moisture content product, and these products are prone to microbiological spoilages leading to rancidity, and it is generally happen because of the breakdown of fat present in the system. And sometimes moldy surfaces is observed on the surface because of the higher population of mold contaminating mold. So a storage of packaged chana or paneer as low temperature, that is in between the range of 5 to 10 degrees centigrade, can check the rancid defect. So just after manufacturing, you should lower down the temperature of paneer, or you should store your paneer packet at lower temperature just to avoid this rancidity problem. And the mold growth can be avoided by keeping moisture at an optimum level and by avoiding delays in the marketing and disposal of these products. We have already discussed a lot about the different factors which generally affect the growth and activity of different kind of microorganisms. So whatever condition you are giving after giving certain type of heat time temperature combination or manufacturing processing processing treatment during manufacturing operation, that will dictate that what kind of microorganisms will be there in the product and what not. So accordingly you have to choose a condition, a temperature, and you have to maintain a very good hygienic condition after the production of these products. Here some standards are given. Simply you have to remember these standards, that what are the total count of bacteria, what is the maximum level of coliform, and then what is the yeast and mold population level, Escherichia coli level. So automatically you have to remember the total maximum count of all these type of different type of microorganisms in your final product. Now the next product is Rasagulla. As all of you know that it is an Indian syrupy dessert, and it is very popular in Indian subcontinent and regions with South Asian diaspora, and it is made from ball-shaped dumpling of chana. So first of all, you have to prepare chana, and thereafter you have to give a ball shape to your product. And uh, sometimes people are using some amount of semolina in dough of chana, and thereafter it is cooked in light syrup made up of sugar. And this is done until the syrup permeates the dumpling. Whatever ball is there, the syrup solution will be penetrate the system and go inside the Rasgulla ball. The spongy white Rasgulla is believed to have been introduced in present day West Bengal in 1868 by the Kolkata-based confectioner named Nobin Chandra Das. You must have heard about the N.C. Das. He is a pioneer in this field, and he was the man who standardized the manufacturing process of Rasagulla manufacturing, and he has already patented the manufacturing process, and it is very popular. His product is very popular throughout our country. So thereafter, Das started making Rasgulla by processing the mixture of chana and semolina in boiling sugar syrup in contrast of the mixture sans semolina in the original Rasagulla in his sweet shop located at Bagh Bazaar of Calcutta area. So it is also, this product is also very popular in Orissa, Bihar, UP. And here in this table slide, I have tried to give you the composition of Rasgulla. Moisture level is 45 to 55%, milk fat is 5%, sucrose is 45%, protein is 5%, acidity of syrup is 6%. So just by going through this table, you can have idea about the composition of Rasagulla. And if you are preparing from different type of milk, automatically there may be variation. And these are the different persons or group of scientists who have standardized the method of manufacturing rasgulla from different type of milk, and there is a compositional difference in moisture, fat, protein, as well as carbohydrate and sucrose level of all these products produced from different types of milk. Now, this is the flow diagram of manufacturing of rasgulla. Cow milk you have to take, thereafter you have to heat it at boiling point, then you have to cool it at 60 degree centigrade, and at that time when you are adding 1% citric acid as a coagulant which is maintained at 60 degrees centigrade, the pH of the whole lot will reach to 5.4. Thereafter, holding coagulated mass for, you have to hold it the whole mass for 10 to 15 minutes. Thereafter, a straining of whey will be done. Then dripping of whey. Thereafter, chana will be produced. And sometimes people are using manual kneading and ball formation of 7 to 8 grams. But nowadays, several different kind of automatic machines are available. You can just purchase these machines which people are using for ball making purposes. Thereafter, you have to cook these balls in sugar solution, and sugar solution range is in between 40 to 50% level, and you have to keep ball inside that sugar solution for 20 to 25 minutes. Thereafter, soaking in 40% sugar solution, and low fat syrup, sweet syrup cheese ball that is called rasgulla will be prepared. So this is the different stages of manufacturing of rasgulla, and ultimately it will be packed in different kind of cans or different kind of jars. Now something about the Kalakand. Kalakand is a milk sweet basically prepared from Danedar variety of khoa. Kalakand is characterized by large size hard grains with less cohesive body. The chemical composition of khoa is the chemical composition of Kalakand is more or less similar to Barfi, but there are large differences in sensory and rheological properties of these two sweets. Why it is different from Barfi? Contrary to Barfi, Kalakand has more distinct cooked flavor and brown color. The body of Kalakand is greasier with grainy texture. The grains are hard and large size. Good quality Kalakand is normally prepared in one step from buffalo milk. However, it can be prepared from khoa also. The formally said product is cut to required shape and size, and when making Kalakand from khoa, the Danedar variety is generally preferred. So here in this, the method of preparation of Kalakand is given. Why it is called coagulated and heated product, and it is considered under this heading. So just by going through this slide, you can have idea that what type of acid is used during manufacturing of Kalakan, and which acid and at what concentration it is used. So first of all, buffalo milk is taken for preparation of this. Filtration will be done boiling for 1 minute. Thereafter, you have to add some amount of citric acid, that is 0.0 to 2% weight by volume. Then desiccation in double jacketed steam kettle using steam till semi-solid consistency is reached. And at that time, you have to maintain a steam pressure of 1 to 2 kg per centimeter square. And khoa will be prepared. In manufacturing of khoa, you are not adding this citric acid. But when you have to produce this particular product, you have to add to give a typical type of texture to your final product. When it is cooled in tray for 15 minutes, thereafter you have to add sugar at the rate of 6%. And thereafter, you have to go for further desiccation for 10 minutes, then cooling to room temperature, packaging and storage at 6 to 8%. So this is all about the Kalakan manufacturing process. Now something about the compositional difference, which different scientists have shown, and they have analyzed different samples of Kalakan collected from different areas. As per the Patil, the total solid is about 81%, fat is this much percent level. So these are the compositional variation, fat, protein, sugar. They have not studied about sugar. Lactose percentage is this, as content is this. So this is the compositional variation between, if you talk about the Kalakand, and same type of product is milk cake, which is very popular in our area. And whenever you visit in your street meat shop, you will see these two products, and they are very common in Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, and UP areas. Now, something about the microbiological counts. So, these are the different scientists who have collected samples of Kalakand from the market, and at the same time, they have also produced this product in laboratory also, and they have examined the microbiological level, and especially for total count level, coliform and yeast and mold. And they have concluded the total count uh, sold by Magdum is from 1836 to 41,160. And Aurora et al. Sold 1,000 to 12,300. And at the same time, Suresh and Jha in the 1994 sold 29,500 to 92,000. And if the same product is produced in laboratory, you can see the total bacterial load. It is, if you are maintaining a very controlled condition in laboratory, automatically you can reduce the total number of microorganisms. So you can see here the coliform count, which is very objectionable, because whatever time temperature treatment you are giving during manufacturing of these indigenous products is sufficient to kill all sort of coliform as well as yeast and mold. It gives you idea about the post-processing contamination. So automatically you have to keep your mind after, or you have to maintain a very hygienic condition after giving heat treatment to your product. So in order to improve the quality of traditional milk product, the following suggestions may be considered. That is, training for hygienic milk production should be given to the farmers at farm level. So I repeatedly told you people that whenever you are going to manufacture any kind of dairy product, automatically you have to collect a very good quality of raw milk. So you have to minimize the total bacterial load, or you have to minimize the contaminating number of contaminating microorganisms, and then only you can produce a very good quality of final product. And at the same time, you will get a very longer shelf life of that product, and it will not spoil within a specified period which you are recommending to your consumer. Now, dairy technical support services should be provided to all the manufacturer, to all the producer. Marketing of traditional milk products should be channelized through identified institutions. So in the recent year, people have observed that there is a big market of all these products, and a number of different kind of cooperative societies or federation have started manufacturing different kind of indigenous milk product. So automatically, a very uh, good chances to improve the total market level, especially for all these products. Now, improved breed of animals should be introduced to the farmers, and as many farmers live in a scattered area and under poor condition, a cooperative society or a small farmers association should be formed to organize milk transport to the market. Then quality of products should be improved. Package of policies is required to harmonize the prices of various imports, and locally relevant research and development plan with a special attention to appropriate technology is required, because every day people have started introducing a newer kind of formulation, a newer kind of indigenous milk product in the nearby area or in local market. So it is very important to standardize the method of manufacturing of all these products, and we should also recommend a definite practice, or we should give a definite package of policies to harmonize the prices of these products. And at the same time, if we are giving proper feedback to the manufacturer just by examining the quality of these products, they can improve the overall microbiological standard of all these products. So this is all about uh, heated and coagulated indigenous milk product. Thank you. Thanks a lot.